Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another video. In this video we will be looking at the Canon EOS R and we'll talk about the experience we had with this in a short amount of time. Let's get right into it. So the Canon EOS R is a very polarizing camera. I picked this up for a few days to check out the Canon color science, and let's face it, the 4K quality, even though the 4K video has a 4K crop. So we will touch upon the video aspect and the photography aspect of this camera. So the first thing, let's talk about video. And the elephant in the room is the 4K video crop, the 1.7 times crop in 4K mode. Well, let me give a little bit of where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a Panasonic GH4. That's primarily what I shoot most of my videos on the channel. And also the Sony a6500, which is basically a superb 4K camera in APS-C mode. So coming from a GH4, a micro four thirds sensor, this 4K crop does not feel that awkward or that bad. It's just an APS-C camera in 4K mode, like a Canon 90D or maybe the Sony a6500. So yes, it is there. It bothers me. If you ask me if it's a deal breaker, if I'm looking for a full frame camera to shoot 4K in full frame mode, yes, it is a deal breaker. But if you're just looking for a Canon camera then shoots 4K, all eye, codec, then I think it's pretty okay. Talking about the 4K crop, let's do a quick test. In this scenario, you're gonna see that this video is shot in 4K, 24 frames per second crop mode. It's like 1.7 times crop, and then I'm going to switch to 1080p full frame and HD full HD mode, and you guys are going to see the difference. So this is in 1080p full frame mode, and you can see the full wide aspect ratio, basically the whole how much wide it is. In full frame you get a wide field of view, and in 4K it's cropped. It's like a zoom lens, so which sometimes comes in handy, but again, it is what it is. So a lot of people shoot in 1080p full frame mode and then they upscale the video to 4K and then publish it on YouTube. That's one way of looking at it, but again, you're not shooting in 4K, you're just upscaling the 1080p to 4K. That's not true 4K. In my opinion, if you really want 4K, true 4K, shoot in 4K and publish it in 4K. Or maybe you can shoot in 4K but downsample it to 1080p. It will have a better image quality than shooting at 1080p and upscaling it to 4K. Another feature that I do miss, which I don't use, but a lot of people on YouTube use, that is the 120 frames per second in 1080p, 1080 mode. It's only 720, 120 frames per second. I have not used it. I don't use slow-mo in my video that much, so that's a bummer. But if I had that option, let's say even 4K 60 like the iPhone 11 Pro Max does it, or any kind of 4K 120 frames per second. No, that's asking for too much. Like let's say 1080p 120 frames per second. That one, yeah, we don't have this in this camera. So I titled this video, it's called Beyond the Specs. The Canon EOS R, the features that are convenient for me is basically the flip out screen. Everyone talks about that. I can actually literally see myself, look at myself because of the flip out screen. It is a familiar territory for me because I'm coming from a GH4. It also has a flip out screen and it helps immensely when I don't have anyone to shoot the videos that I shoot with just by myself, which is the case right now. The Sony a6500 did not have that, and that has been one of the main reasons I don't use that camera that much, because if you're shooting by yourself, you're filming something, you preferably want the flip out screen, and Canon got this right. Even the 5D Mark IV doesn't have a flip out screen, so I'm a 1DX Mark III. But again, this comes in pretty handy if you're doing run and gun, you're filming yourself, vlogging and stuff like that. Alright, so this camera has a Canon C Log, which is good for professional video shooters or people who like to play around with the colors in post-production. I don't play around with my colors in post-production. I most of the time play around with the colors in the camera. So I did not use the Canon C Log. I don't know how to color grade that well. So again, based on what YouTube community has been talking about, it's basically a great C Log, a log profile, which you can customize, edit, change the colors without having the video or the picture profile falling apart. So another thing that can be a deal breaker for me personally is the lack of no IBIS, no in-body image stabilization basically. I do a lot of handheld shooting. Just sometimes I'm too lazy to get a tripod, or sometimes I don't feel like getting a tripod or a gimbal. So I do a lot of handheld shooting. I know the Panasonic GH4 doesn't have the in-body image stabilization, but the other new cameras like the A7 III and basically the Panasonic GH5, they have in-body image stabilization, and the EOS R does not have that, and they try to compensate that with having the lenses have stabilization, but that is one way of solving the problem. I hope that they incorporate in-body image stabilization in the future cameras, especially the R5 that is rumored to be coming out pretty soon. So now let's talk about the dual pixel autofocus, which is a Canon specialty, and it is pretty awesome. See, if I move my face around, it tracks my face and keeps the focus locked in. I can come in forward, I can go back, and it still keeps the focus. That is something that a lot of new cameras struggle to keep up with. Again, I shoot mostly in manual mode, but this is a good feature to have. It's basically, it spoiled me a little bit because I can shoot without worrying about moving that much, whereas I'm shooting with my other camera, A6500 or GH4 in manual, I just have to be in a field of view or stuck in a fixed position, not to move that much. But here I can move around. It's basically a good test, and it keeps the focus in. Tap, focus is here, focus is on the lens, focus is on the 6T. So this is how the dual pixel autofocus spoils me, and it has already spoiled me. So the Canon color science is pretty good. I will have to give it to Canon. Their color science is good in photos and in videos, and out of the box, skin tones and everything else, the white balance, everything looks pretty awesome, pretty good. But that doesn't mean that you cannot custom the white balance, or you cannot change the colors in the camera, customize it, play around with it, and choose the one that you like. But again, out of the box, like a lot of people mentioned and a lot of people talk about, the Canon color science is pretty good. The EOS R comes with a kit lens of 24 by 105 RF mount lens. It's f4. I don't recommend this when you're shooting videos in a controlled setting like this with light, but in bright light, this lens is pretty good for videos and for photos. But again, I will personally shoot with f2.8 24-70, the EF mount lens, not the RF mount. You can get the RF mount in the same range as well, 24-70 millimeters, but you can adapt your EF lens. If you have the EF lenses, then you can just get the adapter that they sell for. They sell 3 different types of adapters, but you can just get the one that sells for $99, like $100. You just put it in front of the camera, adapt any EF lens, and then just shoot with it. So that's a plus point in my opinion. You don't have to go and invest in these RF lenses. These are extremely expensive. The cheapest one is I think the 35 millimeter, which is $500. I don't recommend that. If you have the EF lenses, adapt them with the adapter for the EOS R. Another inexpensive option for the EOS R is this 50 millimeter lens, the 1.8, the Nifty 50. That's what sometimes it was used to call, or they call it. This one, you can get it on eBay for, I don't know, $40, or you can get it for new for $100. keep checking on Amazon. This can be also adapted with the adapter. It's an EF lens, and you can just put it in to the EOS R, and you can take some nice portrait shots, like good portrait pictures and videos, I guess. So this is a good way to start if you don't want to spend that much on lenses. So I couldn't test the battery on the EOS R fully, but by the looks of it, it's not that bad. It's not like a Blackmagic or Sony a6500 level bad, or it's pretty okay in 4K video. Like again, I'm talking about the video part. The photography part, it's pretty good with the photography, but I'm more concerned with the video, how long it lasts with 4K video. Right now, we've been shooting it for like almost an hour. It's only the 3 bars has gone to only 1 bar. So now we're gonna take a look at the photography side of the Canon EOS R. To do this, I have got someone who's more expert than me. I deal with the video side. He's more like a professional photographer, along those lines, let's say. And you guys have seen him on this channel before. So without wasting any more time, here he comes. So Joy,
Yes,
welcome to the channel.
thank you, man. First of all, thanks for that out of the world introduction. I really appreciate that.
I
Even
tried.
though I'm not a professional, but I love to take pictures. And recently I had hand-on experience for the very first time with mirrorless camera, which is Canon EOS R, thanks to my friend Adu. I've been using Canon 6D for last 4 or 5 years, and I must say that this was a really different experience with mirrorless camera. And I took some pictures, and I'm gonna go through the pictures and talk about it, and we'll see how you guys like that. There are some pro and con, of course, like every other system, every other tools. This was really something different. So let's look at the images right now. One of the key difference between these two cameras are the body, of course, and which is really pretty much visible. If someone sees you taking pictures, the whole idea, the whole legend of DSLR cameras has been the one who's professional always carry the heavy cameras with them. But with this mirrorless evolution, that whole heaviness is not there anymore, and that's mostly because of mirrorless camera doesn't have that mirror box, the whole pentaprism box there, but DSLR has that box, so obviously DSLR is much more heavier. So when we look at the images, as you can see, there's not much difference, but when I as a photographer was taking those pictures, I have noticed the weight, of course. It's even though Canon 6D is not that heavy camera, but comparably Canon EOS R is much more lighter camera than that one. Also, Canon EOS R has the eye autofocus, which locks in the focus of the eye of a person, but if the person is moving, then camera tries to lock in the focus too, which is really good feature because Canon 6D doesn't have that. As you can see from the outdoor shoot, it looks pretty decent, but when I took pictures in indoor control light setting, EOS R got that focus right away, where 6D struggled a little. Again, the reason why I am comparing with 6D, because 6D has been my camera for such a long time, and that is my reference point, even though I know that 6D been out there 6-7 years, and EOS R is just a 2-year-old camera. Well, I think sensor is without a doubt really good in EOS R, because when I was taking the pictures, I found that the picture quality in the camera body itself, when I saw it through the viewpoint, and as it processed in the camera body, I found that it really came out really nice. So in that sense, it was good. But I think lens wise, of course, there's still that difference still visible, because when I was working with f4, I saw when I zoomed in, it wasn't that sharp, But then when we change our frame to f2.8, of course, zoomed in view was much clearer than the previous one. Otherwise, obviously, sharp image, good sensor, even usability is of course good because of its size. All the pictures were shot with 24-70 f2.8 EF lens, not RF, just to make sure. So you might not see much significant amount of difference in depth of field, but I can assure you, when you have your hand-on experience with mirrorless camera, you are gonna love your experience with this new player in the game. So as you guys can see, my review wasn't really that critical or very in-depth. I only share with you guys my first hand-on experience with EOS R, and that was pretty amazing for me. So
yeah, because you had the camera only for like few hours. We didn't have that much time to play with the camera.
Bad. It was really cold outside. We were crying for all our senses, eyes, ears, mouth. But we still tried our best.
So yeah, if we had the camera for more time, we probably in the future we can do a second video on how the photography side looks. Yes. Again, to wrap it up, I played around with the video part. EOS R is basically a camera that it's not defined by the specs. It's beyond the specs. It's a convenient camera, to be honest with you, if you get this. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you're looking for a full frame 4K not cropped camera, then this is not for you. But if you're looking for a Canon convenient mirrorless camera in a range which is like, it's going for like I think $700 right now, $800, price keeps going up and down, then it's a good camera to have. And because the main point is that if you have EF lenses, you can just adapt it with the adapter,
right.
And it works as an AF lens.
You don't really have to buy RF lens.
Yeah, you don't have to buy an RF lens, right. Which we did have the RF 24-105, but I didn't use it at all. We didn't use it. We used the
because that was f4.
That was
and
f4.
We wanted to use the same lens on both bodies, which is f2.8, 24-70, right?
Exactly, and exactly the 24-70 f2.8 on the RF mount is close to $3,000. I think it's like something around those lines. And which one, the EF RF 24-70 is half that price. So again, something to consider, that if you have the EF lenses, then they are
half that price, but still it was expensive when I bought it. So.
Yeah. It is, but compared to an RF lens, the EF lenses, a lot of EF lenses are
absolutely
cheap.
There's there's another one coming. You told me by Olympics.
Yeah, the EOS R5, they just announced it that it will shoot 8K, no crop video,
wow, and
animal autofocus and all the stuff. Again, so
maybe I'll buy it. How much is that?
We don't know. They didn't declare the price, but okay. My guess, and this I'm going to do it on video. My guess it's going to be $4,500. Again, it might be lower than that, but my guess is that it's not going to be a cheap camera. So that makes the EOS R a very good buy, or a very lucrative buy if the R5 comes up. Maybe the price will go down. But anyways, that's basically it for the EOS R. We had a good time shooting with it. I hope you guys liked this video, and we hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys made this far, thank you so much.
And let me say this time, please subscribe to this channel.
Got it. And smash that like button. Until next time, this is Kazi Adil, and this is Joy.
Thank you guys.
We will just put his Instagram handle in the description. Take care. Bye.